Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of I've Been Playing. This one's a little different because I haven't been playing a full game that I want to talk about, but today we're talking about the add-on for Ghostwire Tokyo called the Spider's Thread. This particular update to the game has two different parts to it, essentially. There's some stuff that is added to the main story open world map, as well as the main bulk of the Spider's Thread update itself, I suppose. The roguelite tower dungeon experience. I can't quite think of the words, but we'll get there in a minute. I'll explain what it is. So firstly, the stuff they add to the main game, main campaign area, they add one new shrine, which adds one new area. They add two new side missions. There's one where you go around looking for photographs, or you have photographs, and you try to find the place in whatever photograph you have at the time, or photographs, you have sets of 3 or 4 generally. You find that same place on the map, you take a picture of it yourself, the spirit pops up, and then you get rid of that spirit. So spirit photographs, I suppose that's what they're called technically. The other one is in the new area. This opens up the school and the missions in the school, and good lord, I don't know where the spook factor was in the main game, but the first of the two, there are only 2 missions in the school in that arc, but god, the first one is terrifying, because they have it's creepy. I'm not gonna actually spoil it, unless maybe some of the footage I have is accidentally spoiling it. I'll try not to, but it's spooky. It's effectively spooky, and I kind of wish the rest of the game were maybe not that level of spooky, or at least the thing that I find spooky is something that I find spooky. I guess that's also part of it, but regardless though, I wish the rest of the game was actually scary, because there's only one mission that stands out in the main game that's scary. That's not important, it doesn't matter. But anyway, you're doing these 2 missions in the school, and this area also has a bunch of other collectibles in it as well. Investigation notes that you may remember from the base game, there are more of them there are more Magatama, at least 2 of which you have to buy from the Nekomata that shows up after you do the missions. Just FYI, because I needed them to get the other trophy, or one of the other trophies, and I was like, where the hell are they? There aren't any more yokai or anything to hunt down. Where am I gonna find them? And I just happened to see that a Nekomata had appeared and went to go investigate, and there they were, it was 3 of them, I think. You're gonna have to need a sizable amount of cash to get them, but that's where they are if you're searching for them, because I was for a while and finally figured it out. So there you go, that's where they are. Also, if you're doing that, one of the notes is not marked on the map or noted in any way at any of the shrines where they list where stuff is. I had to look it up. I don't even know how to describe where it is. I don't remember specifically where the door is. It is the most innocuous door I've ever seen, but it leads to a special art gallery that has art, obviously, photos, I'm assuming from fans of the game, on the walls, and I don't know if they're gonna cycle those or if those are just the ones they have for now. I don't know, but it is very interesting, but it's next to impossible to find, especially if you turn off the map markers for entrances and exits, because never would have guessed, even if that was there, but especially because it wasn't. They also added graffiti that you can collect and pick up. I have not done any of that. I've unintentionally found a few, but there's no guide for that yet, and I am not patient enough, let's say, to look for all of it myself, so I might get that just so I have everything checked off eventually, but I'm not looking for it myself, and as of last time I looked anyway, no one has a guide yet, which is unfortunate. Sometimes it's nice to play games or play updates when they're fresh and new, and you can search for stuff yourself, but when it's that kind of collectible, no thanks, I'm not doing that myself. There are also a bunch of new skills you have to unlock, which is why I was looking for those Magatama, because I needed to unlock that to then unlock the skill, and that's also why I had to find the last note in that very obscure random place, because I needed those skill points in order to level up, because it only adds, I think I was max level, I assume, when I finished the game previously, and it only adds 5 levels. It only goes up to level 55 now, so you need to find those if you want to acquire all of the new skills that they've added. Other than that, though, that's kind of all they've really added. I know that's all. They added a couple of missions, and the photograph one especially. Thankfully, that did have a guide. That's the only reason I got that one done. That already had a guide, or a helpful interactive map, I think, specifically, and I can't remember where it was, but I will put it in the description or something, the link, because it was extremely useful, and if you want to find that stuff, it will be extremely useful to you as well. So there's a little bit there. Most of the time and attention, quite obviously, went to the bigger portion of the update, which is the main spider's thread mode, I guess, if you want to call it that. It has its own separate save file. It is a roguelite experience. Essentially, you are descending through a tower of randomly assigned levels. They have, I don't know, I saw how many there are that can be interchanged, but I don't remember. But you will see repeating levels between playthroughs. But essentially what you're doing is you're descending through these floors. Trying to get to floor 30, you have separate skills, or I think they're the same skills from the main game, they're just kind of implemented in a different way. You're trying to make it to floor 30, at least once. You have specific goals to achieve, so there's one floor that shows up every so often. That's called the cat's paw. That's kind of the base. That's where you start the whole thing. There are 3 cats in there initially. You can rescue cats as you continue, so at any level you enter as you're going through this tower, if you hear a meow, there's a cat there, obviously, and you want to try to rescue the cats, because that's one of your goals. And also, rescue the kitties, please. And in the cat's paw, there are 3 cats. You have the one cat who deals in spider's thread and prayer beads. So you can either buy prayer beads from this cat, or there are also random ones you'll pick up as you hit the cat's paw floor after completing. I think the first one is after floor 3, and then there's another one a little later on after floor 7, I think? I don't know. I know I have only gotten as far as like level 8, and I've seen the cat's paw appear at least twice, so you know, there's twice within the first 10 levels at least, and every time you arrive there you get at least 1 if not 2 sets of chaos beads. You can either keep them and equip them, or you can essentially trade them in for spider thread with this cat. There's another cat that has different goals for you, just kind of overall in the mode. There's the shopkeeper cat, and then in addition to the goals that the one cat gives you, each level also has randomly assigned optional objectives, so obviously you get XP for doing the main mission of each level, you get more XP if you do the optional objectives, you get even more XP, I think, or possibly money, if you find all of the stuff on each level, so there'll be stuff on the left-hand side of the screen, it'll show up like 0 out of 4, so you have to collect the gold money objects, the bags of food items, the spider's thread, any yokai, that hasn't appeared very often. You collect spirits as well, and I feel like I'm missing one, but I can't remember for the life of me what it is, but you'll have a certain number of those things in each level as well, and they seem to be in the same spot every single time, so if you can memorize every single layout, you can probably collect all this stuff fairly easily and fairly quickly, because that's factored into your score at the end. And at the end of each kind of section, it grades you. The money can, of course, be used to buy things, but that's also how you acquire new skills, so you have to be strategic with how you want to do that, and you only get some of it back if you happen to die. The reason you want to complete the goals that the cat gives you is because those will help you keep and acquire more money and just ammo and stuff when you die and go back to the start. So that's why it's a roguelite, because you keep your skills, you keep some of your stuff, you know, it's one of those things. I'm finding it fun, but occasionally frustrating. Overall, I'm not always the best at roguelites anyway. I enjoy them for the most part, but I'm not always the best at them. Very much depends on the game, I think, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. I thought they were going to update the combat a little bit, and I think maybe that just meant the skills that you unlock, because it feels very much the same to me. I hope the combat was one of the biggest things I had an issue with in the base game, because it just didn't feel very fun or satisfying, and it's very repetitive. It still feels very much that. But, I mean, it's getting me to play it, so it's fun enough. I think that will very much depend on your experience with the main game, though, because if you didn't enjoy the main game, and the mechanics especially of the main game, I don't think this is gonna change your mind, unless maybe you're a giant fan of roguelites, I don't know. But I enjoyed the base game well enough, combat aside, but that's mainly because I liked pretending that I was walking around Tokyo, and I honestly don't know how much was the game itself, although it wasn't terrible, but the story I do not remember at all, and the combat's not great, which doesn't sound like a great recommendation, but again, I'm having fun, and that's all I can ask for, really. Well, those are my super not coherent thoughts on the Ghostwire Tokyo Spiders thread update. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you again next time.